What's poppin', Captain Americans? It's me, MT, and welcome back to the Heavy Spoiler Show, y'all. We have got to talk about the new Captain America Brave New World teaser trailer because, my god, what the hell is even happening? Why did Isaiah shoot at that man? And what the hell is even the leader planning behind the scenes? We've got to talk about it, y'all, because Kevin Feige has actually been teasing the leader's plans for about over a decade now. So let's just get into it. Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about in this video is why Isaiah Bradley decided to shoot at Thaddeus Ross. I mean, when we first met him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that man was clearly trying to keep a low-ass profile. I mean, after being locked away by the United States government for 30 years, after faithfully serving his country as a secret super soldier, all Isaiah wanted to do was eat, sleep, and be grumpy in his Baltimore-ass home with his grandson Elijah, not drawing any attention to himself whatsoever, especially since he knew how valuable his blood was to the United States government. So why would a man with his background risk jeopardizing his entire life by shooting at the most important man in the country? Well, there are a couple of explanations for this, but the most logical amongst them, in my opinion, is that Isaiah was acting as a vengeful, violated veteran, a veteran that wanted to prevent his particular past from repeating itself in the modern day, especially after hearing what Thaddeus Ross had to say in front of all these leaders of the world, apparently. Because if you have seen the Incredible Hulk movie from 2008, then you know the major element that ties both Isaiah Bradley and Thaddeus Ross together, the super soldier serum. Throughout Ross's entire career, he has been obsessed with creating biologically enhanced soldiers in order to strengthen the offensive and defensive capabilities of the nation in times of war and danger. Following in the footsteps of World War II's Project Rebirth that allowed the birth of Captain America, courtesy of the miraculous creation of the super soldier serum by the intellectually unmatched Abraham Erskine. And of course, if it wasn't for Ross's obsession with recreating Captain America, we would not have our favorite big green smashing machine, the Incredible Hulk, at all, as it would be General Ross that would trick Bruce Banner and his daughter Betty Ross into attempting to recreate a new version of the super soldier formula by telling them that they were merely working on a serum to prevent soldiers from dying from radiation poisoning of any kind, with General Ross allowing Bruce Banner to test out the efficacy of his own work on his own self. However, instead of using yellow vital radiation like Abraham Erskine did with Steve Rogers after Abraham applied his super soldier serum to Steve's bloodstream, Bruce Banner and General Ross opted to use gamma radiation instead, with that decision leading to Bruce's radically violent transformation into the Incredible Hulk. As soon as this happened to Bruce, however, Ross immediately declared Bruce's entire body to be property of the United States government, most importantly, Bruce's blood, as the secrets within Bruce's blood would be able to unlock Ross's ability to make a more refined version of the serum that would give him the super soldier army that he desired. This all being said, it is clear that Thaddeus Ross has spent decades of his life attempting to create super soldiers in order to bolster the nation's security, and parts of that history may have very likely intersected with Isaiah Bradley's history in the past. I mean, you saw just how hard Ross went chasing after Bruce Banner in the Incredible Hulk just so that he could lock Bruce away and experiment on him for the rest of Bruce's days. But who said Ross did not do the same for Isaiah Bradley? Because I have a strong feeling that he could have, and might have been actively involved in the decades of experimentation that Isaiah had to suffer through, and that Isaiah felt compelled to do what he could to prevent this power-obsessed president from hurting anyone else in the pursuit of biologically enhanced soldiers. Because if you look at it from Isaiah's point of view, it seems like Isaiah feels like he owes it to all of his comrades who were treated like experimental guinea pigs before they died from exposure to a multitude of unstable versions of the serum. And who knows, maybe Isaiah's bold actions against Ross in the trailer was also motivated in part due to Isaiah Bradley's own experimentally induced instability. I mean, yeah, we do know that he was the only one amongst his comrades to survive having been enhanced, but that doesn't mean that Isaiah Bradley's mind hasn't been compromised in some way. I mean, if you look at the history of the super soldier serum in the MCU, it kind of has a reliable track record when it comes to severely messing with the minds of those who have taken it without the right prerequisites. I mean, Red Skull is the best example of this. This already crazy guy went absolutely nuts after taking the serum, and he's followed by Kelly Morgenthau and her crew of Flag Smashers, and also, of course, US agent Johnny Mayonnaise, who lost his shit and murdered that man with his shield in front of everybody. What a dumbass. And what was Lamar doing the entire time? Taking a nap. Wake up, Lamar, you lazy ass bitch. Like, all of those people took various versions of the super soldier serum and had their minds severely warped because of that, amplifying the anger inside of them into making them into enhanced killing machines. And this is exactly what Abraham Erskine told Steve Rogers about before Steve underwent his transformation. The serum enhances what is already inside of you. So if Isaiah were to have deep rage against a President Ross, he might not be able to control himself. Regardless, it definitely feels to me that we're going to see a de-aged Harrison Ford in a flashback to Isaiah's incarceration, drawing his blood in an attempt to discover what was so special about Isaiah's DNA that made his version of the serum so successful. Likely when Sam Wilson and his right-hand man, Joaquin Torres, enter what looks to be a super sketchy secret military base guarded by US soldiers. I think that at some point in Sam's adventure, he's going to need to visit the military laboratory that Isaiah Bradley escaped from in order to discover Thaddeus Ross's involvement in those experiments, and possibly Ross's desire to make more super soldiers, especially after Ross makes the title of Captain America an official military position that he can boss around as he sees fit, allowing the president to fire Sam in order to make room for a more subservient, superpowered military meathead of his choice. But that's just one possible explanation for Isaiah's decision. Another extremely likely explanation for Isaiah's radical actions has got to be the leader himself, one of the most dangerous supervillains that the MCU has ever seen, in my opinion. This little green nerd is a goddamn menace. Thanks to the wonders of gamma radiation, the leader from Marvel Comics is not only a super genius capable of predicting the future like a living version of the Project Insight supercomputer from Captain America the Winter Soldier, but this big-headed bastard also has the added superpower of telepathic mind control, with his powers even being strong enough to control the Incredible Hulk. And even though we don't see the leader a whole lot in this trailer, in one of the few shots that we do have of him, we can see him blending in with the paparazzi as he snaps a picture of Sam and Isaiah arriving at the White House's Global Unity Summit. With the leader's presence at that event before Isaiah would even do anything drastic, there could be a chance that the leader needed to be in close proximity to Isaiah in order to mind control him into shooting at President Ross, with a confused Isaiah running away in fear as soon as he realized what the leader made him do. But why would the leader choose to do this? And what the hell even happened to the leader after we saw him in the Incredible Hulk, just laying there on the ground, smiling like a creepo, while his head inflates to Jimmy Neutron-like proportions? Well, Kevin Feige actually answered that question years ago in a piece of MCU canon media. It just came in comic book form in the pages of Fury's Big Week number 7 from 2012. After the Abomination knocks Samuel Stearns into his equipment, exposing his head to Bruce's gamma-irradiated super soldier serum blood, his brain immediately starts to mutate and grow, and because of that, the leader's ability to calculate the future instantly starts to kick in. Then Fury's Big Week number 7 shows us how S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Natasha Romanoff immediately enters the scene while this is happening to bring Samuel Stearns in for questioning. This is when the leader tries to make Natasha a rather strange offer when he says, "I am changed now. I see my future unfolding. It's an illustrious future defined by power and influence. A future that begins this very instant. Assist me in gathering my work and eluding the authorities, and this effulgent future will be yours also, my little Russian darling." But Natasha was like, "Shut the hell up, Sammy Neutron," and shot that nerdy-ass noodlehead in the knee. Within just a few minutes of receiving his mutated noggin, the leader was able to look into his own future Doctor Strange style and see all the events that would lead to a world defined by power and influence, and do everything that he could to manipulating that future into reality, which I believe the leader has been doing this entire time behind the scenes, with the events of Captain America Brave New World likely being the final dominoes of the leader's extremely long and patient game of creating his own new world order defined by power. But the question still remains, what the hell would that future even look like anyway? Well, if you follow Samuel Stearns' character throughout the Hulk movie, I believe it's possible to see exactly what his goal is for Captain America 4 pretty easily. This weirdo wants to make a world of superpowered people, and wanted to use Bruce Banner's blood to do that. Because after Bruce sent him a bunch of samples of his blood in hopes that Sam could cure him of his Hulk affliction, that overly curious creep decided to concentrate Bruce's blood to create even more blood, and filled an entire room with bags upon bags of Bruce's blood. And when Sam excitedly showed Bruce this room, he was gushing about how there was no limit to what he could do with Bruce's blood, unlocking hundreds of cures and making humans impervious to disease, even excitedly saying that both he and Bruce could actually win Nobel Prizes for their contributions to humanity when Bruce protested against Sam's violation of his trust. Samuel Stearns is a man that is consumed with the idea of evolving himself and other human beings, which is why he was more than happy to transform the power-obsessed Emil Blonsky into a gamma-irradiated creature, the Abomination. And even though it was dangerous, Sam's curiosity always seems to get the best of him. But anyways, this being said, and considering that Samuel Stearns asked for Black Widow's help to collect all of his blood samples in order for his dreams of the future to come true, it seems to me that this future involves Samuel Stearns radically changing the dynamics of power in the world by giving mankind the ability to become super soldiers and Hulks at will, essentially working to evolve humanity much like the High Evolutionary was trying to do on all the planets that he was experimenting on before his face got ripped off. However, the leader is not doing this out of the kindness of his heart, of course. He's doing it so he can erect himself as the leader of this new gamma-powered world, much like his comic book counterpart always desired. And much like he tells Black Widow in Fury's Big Week, Samuel Stearns cannot necessarily do it all on his own. Well, luckily for him, I have a strong feeling that Samuel Stearns very likely has the backing of a group of sketchy pals that want to reshape the world just as much as he did. Our old fascist pals at Hydra, because in the last issue of Fury's Big Week, we can see Samuel Stearns being kept in a giant tank of water with a bunch of technology hooked up to his head, with Stearns now being part of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s mysterious Project Mr. Blue. However, we would come to find out in Captain America 2 that S.H.I.E.L.D. had been taken over by Hydra for decades, while also discovering that S.H.I.E.L.D. had somehow developed an algorithm that looked into the future to find out which people Hydra needed to kill in order to craft the future that they wanted. An algorithm called Project Insight, a project that I personally believe a computerized Zola would develop after making a digital copy of the leader's brain, much like how Computer Zola himself was a digital copy of the original Arnim Zola. Hydra, of course, would then put all of their chips into the implementation of Project Insight in order to preemptively eliminate all of their potential enemies before Steve Rogers, Natasha Romanoff, and Sam Wilson would go rogue and expose Hydra for the psycho control cult that they really were in the shadows. However, even though Hydra would lose Project Insight with the destruction of all those S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarriers in Cap 2, the living supercomputer that they were keeping in a tube still worked just fine, and was likely more than willing to team up with Hydra if it meant that he got the freedom, funding, forces, and firepower necessary to make every machination of his prophetic mind a reality. Because if you listen closely to when Steve and Natasha were talking to Microsoft Zola in Captain America 2, Zola reveals to them how Hydra has been able to gain influence and power repeatedly throughout centuries of history. Hydra purposely manufactures political chaos in order for the people to blindly and willingly give up their freedoms in order for their governments and other corporate powers that be to make them feel safe. And I feel like that's exactly what the leader is doing in Brave New World, manipulating events so that a super soldier would show up at the White House and make the president's security look silly and weak in front of a room full of world leaders, because such an event adds even more fire to the flames of fear that humanity has been growing to have for the superpowered populace of the world. With recent Marvel projects like Spider-Man No Way Home, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, She-Hulk, Secret Invasion, Miss Marvel, Wakanda Forever, Echo, and the upcoming Daredevil Born Again, all working together to show how humanity's meta-human fears have begun to result in agencies like Damage Control, the CIA, and SWORD gaining more and more control, power, and influence. If the leader can cause a President Ross and every world leader to personally feel the fear of nearly getting taken out by a super soldier, he can easily get those leaders to all greenlight new super soldier programs in order to be able to defend themselves against any dangerous superhuman, mutant, mentally unstable witch, or shape-shifting alien that would dare threaten their peoples, while also introducing legislation like Comic Book Kingpin's Powers Act and reintroducing legislation like the Sokovia Accords in order to keep superheroes from operating without the blessing of a Hydra-controlled government agency of some kind. This is the leader's ideal future, in my opinion, one that involves humanity becoming so scared by perceived threats that they can't control that they ultimately come to him to beg to have their biology enhanced. And he who controls the distribution of power and how that power is used effectively becomes the leader of this brave new world of many gods. And Samuel Stearns aims to be the one who controls an entirely new race of human beings. And in response to his attack by Isaiah Bradley, and also possibly an additional attack on his daughter Betty Ross, President Ross's fear towards super soldiers and Hulks will grow so out of control that he will willingly ask Stearns to make him into the Red Hulk in order to defend his country his way. You know, instead of being some helpless old man. That way he can even become Captain America and just take the title for himself. Because there's a good chance that the leader is working with Val and Hydra, in my opinion, which would make sense considering that Val seems to have some really strange knowledge of events that she can't directly see, and just became in charge of the CIA, with the CIA apparently being a Hydra-infected agency that we learned worked closely with scientist Wilfred Nagel to try to reproduce the super soldier serum on the low in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I can definitely see Val and the CIA leading Ross towards the idea of hulking himself out in order for other world leaders to follow suit and seek out the leader and Hydra to do the same exact thing, effectively making the leader the world's most influential weapons manufacturer that can shape the geopolitical landscape as he sees fit. Captain America Brave New World definitely feels like a tale about how humanity is adjusting to the growing cosmic and evolutionary changes that the planet has been undergoing. A cautionary tale that is meant to illustrate how easily manufactured fear can cause a populace to excuse and embrace drastic freedom-restricting measures just so they can all feel better. And I truly cannot wait to see the leader's plan finally unfold on Valentine's Day 2025, because Lord knows that watching the leader is the only head that I'll be getting that night, because I'm so hopelessly single and alone. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. You guys can follow me at Mastertainment on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, wherever I am on the internet, and also at the Guardians of the Galaxy YouTube channel where me and my friends just talk about nerd stuff. But most importantly, do not forget to subscribe to Heavy Spoilers, and when you do, hit that notification bell to get notifications for every time we upload a video. But yes, you guys are amazing for watching this video. I cannot wait for Cap 4, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.